Hi, Kyle. Good to see you today. We're digging into the headlines, the Inflation Reduction Act, and what it means for retirees. There are a couple big takeaways, and I think the ones that are most important to your clients is going to be lowering the cost of prescription drugs, and of course, the subsidies continuing for health insurance. So let's do a deeper dive right now and talk about these changes to prescription costs. What do I need to know?
Absolutely. Hi, Aaron. So I think with the change, when it comes to retirement planning, healthcare and tax planning, those are two big areas that we need to address.
Right.
This bill here can definitely affect some of these areas. In terms of the Medicare costs, right? So one of the big changes that's happening in this act is, Medicare will be allowed to negotiate some of the drug costs that they face, right? And they're trying to. The goal is, and this is not going to happen tonight. It's not going to happen this year, more than likely, and it's a lot of it's in the works. But these are the intentions, right? These are the
Right.
goals of the plan, are to cap prescription costs at about $2,000 for people on Medicare per year, which would be a tremendous thing for some people. And the other big change is insulin, right? That's another notable change. They're trying to cap that at about $35 per month,
Right.
which again can make a really big impact in some people's lives.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I can't tell you how many stories I keep reading about the cost of insulin. It's unbelievable. So,
Yeah.
now the second point here, and you and I were talking offline, Affordable Care Act subsidies. This is something that you incorporate as part of your kind of holistic financial plan, is finding out whether people qualify. And there's going to be some changes here, right?
Sure. And so, from our perspective, right, the times that we see this most is people that retire early, in their 50s, maybe early 60s. Where are you going to get your health care from, right? You're no
Hmm.
longer working, but you're not ready for Medicare yet. You're kind of in this, zone in between where you may be unsure of what to do. And being that you retired, there's a high likelihood that your income is lower than it was when you were working, right? So you may actually qualify for these subsidies under the Affordable Care Act. And so these being extended for another few years, I think is an excellent thing, especially for the people that are kind of in that middle range before they're ready for Medicare. But again, it all involves some planning. You have to try to fine tune your income. Where's your retirement money coming from? You want to be able to qualify for these programs if you should qualify.
Okay. So I think the other big question that's on everybody's minds, we see a big, expensive piece of legislation like this. The funding's going to come from somewhere. So a lot of people are wondering if their taxes are going to go up. Do we know anything yet about tax implications?
Right. So outside of just this big spend, we've had a lot, obviously, over the last few years. All the stimulus money, et cetera. Our federal debt and deficit is growing.
Hmm.
So yes, I think it is inevitable. Taxes will go up. The goal of this plan is that taxes don't rise on anyone that makes under 400,000. Right. That's a stated objective of the plan
Right.
of the act. But the the thing that they kind of snuck in on everybody is the corporate minimum tax, right? That's coming in at about 15% on any corporation that makes over $1 billion. That could definitely put some pressure on the market on its own. But it's a way for the government to start recouping some of the spending. They also put a tax on the share buybacks for corporations, which was another little thing that they snuck in with this act. So it'll be interesting how it pans out. But I think it will have some effects more so on corporations. But remember, right, corporations, even though they pay taxes, right, they eventually pass the costs on down to the consumer. So it may not necessarily help our inflation issue if you look at it from that perspective.
I've heard a lot of discussion about that. That's a whole
Yeah,
other video topic that we'll have to do,
right.
Kyle. The last one on our list, which is kind of a fun one, energy subsidies, because I'm basically wondering if a retiree has been eyeing one of those electric vehicles, is now the time that they should consider buying it?
You hear people all across the board have different opinions on electric vehicles, right? But I
Hmm.
think that that's the direction that this country is moving. Okay, and worldwide, there's been a big push for these things. So to incentivize people to kind of get on board, this act does offer some tax credits on or cost credits on these electric vehicles beginning next year on both new and used vehicles. Now, if you've tried to buy a car lately, the prices are pretty unreal. Inflation's definitely affected that segment of the economy
Hmm.
pretty directly. But I think it's a way to kind of incentivize people to try to go that in that direction.
Mhm.
But then you have to be mindful of, how am I going to charge the vehicle? Am I in a state or a city or a location that's kind of conducive to me owning one of these things? Or do I drive 60, 80 miles a day? And I really got to think this thing through.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it's interesting, but again, another step in that direction. I mean, we're seeing it more and more every year.
Right. No, absolutely right. Well, this was really helpful, Kyle. And again, the timeline is kind of moving a little bit here. So if somebody wants to talk this through, and again, this is part of the long-term plan, what's the best way to reach you?
The best way is through our website. That's firstcoastfinancialgroup.com.
All right, Kyle, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.